Hello 2021. Hello people. Here's one where I kind of tell my story and my observations on life as a musician. Before the Disney Pixar movie Soul came out, I'd already been thinking back on my earliest memories, falling in love with music and getting that spark. I've been working on this arrangement of Yesterdays, an old Jerome Kern standard. The song is about nostalgia and fond memories of your yesterdays. So, and of course, I had to figure out what the song meant to me.
Take a shower.
And what I was hearing musically for the arrangement for this tune, Yesterdays, got me thinking back and remembering my initial infatuation to music when I first came of age and started discovering music for myself.
Baby, yeah.
Loca, what you listening to, man?
Turn them off.
Never mind. I know what you're listening to.
Oh, yeah. Petty Tender.
Teddy Pendergrass. Yeah, I can hear that.
That was a bad brother. What you mean?
Yeah, my sister was into that. But again, it makes me think of the stuff I was listening to back then. Music that gave me that spark and made me realize this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Days I knew. Mid to late 1970s, this was the time when I first lit up about music. I had this sense of excitement and wonder about it.
Olden days, golden days.
Some of that stuff even naively made me feel like it was magical. I watched my brother and his friends listening to Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea and Return Forever and Mahu Vishnu Orchestra. They were musicians and they were into this fusion. And I would see them, I would watch them listening to this music and be like, they would be freaking out. Like, did you hear what that bass player did? Did you hear that keyboard line? Woo! So that's when I started trying to listen to the instruments and pick out what they were doing, but listening to the more popular music that everybody else was listening to. And I think that's when I first started hearing, even back then, I first started listening inside the music, not just to the singing and the beat, but to what the instruments were doing, to the form. I didn't know anything about form in terms of music, but I could hear that something happened in this section, and then when it repeated, it was a little different. So I started listening inside the music. It was just Earth, Wind & Fire, Ohio Players, Stevie Wonder. But it was a lot to listen to. And I felt like I discovered a whole world of excitement. Also, thanks to my brother, who was 5 years older than me, I started getting close-up glimpses to somebody doing music. I would watch him singing and playing piano in church. I watched him playing with the cats in the neighborhood. I messed around with his keyboard. He had a Wurlitzer electric piano. Classic. I guess it wasn't classic then, but then one day he brought home a new instrument called the ARP String Ensemble. This was the synthesizer he had to play with Ramsey Lewis. And of course, I wasn't supposed to touch it, but I touched it. Man, when I think about the funk and R&B records released just between 1975 and 77, I feel like one of them old dudes.
That was when we had real music. 1975, Earth, Wind & Fire. That's the way of the world. Herbie Hancock, Man Child. 1976, Roy Ayers, Ubiquity. Everybody loves Sunshine, baby. Marvin Gaye, I Want You. Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. Eko Lela, Eko Saja. Norman Connors, You Are My Starship. Phyllis Hyman, Gary Bartz, Pharoah Sanders. Come on now. 1977, Earth, Wind & Fire again. All in all, George Duke, Reach For It, and Weather Report. Heavy weather, baby. Life before bebop for me. Sometimes I think, for me anyway, I think a musician's relationship to music is like a love relationship. It's like when you first fall in love with somebody, you have that hot, excited infatuation. You don't really know them yet. What you're feeling is chemistry, and you're reacting to some exterior stuff and your idea of that person. Then after time and getting to know them, you start to get a more realistic view of that person. You start to develop a more real love for that person. I remember when I first started dating my future wife, I used to think her eyes were exotic. So exotic. I used to sit there and stare at her eyes. And when I found out her background is much different from mine, it was like an adventure. Come to find out, she's just a fool like anybody else. But I digress. Anyway, you gain a love and respect that's deeper than anything you anticipated in the first place. And with luck and hard work and the grace of God, the love just grows deeper. That's how I feel about music. But looking back, that one element, mystery and infatuation, is no longer there. But it's cool because the experience and knowledge that you've gained is more real and deeper. It doesn't feel like a loss, it feels like a gain. But it's nice to look back and remember that spark sometimes. Being creative can be hard. There's always the second guessing and the unfortunate thing of looking at what everybody else is doing or not doing. And if you're trying something that you've never done before, which sometimes when you're being creative you have to do, you don't know what's going to work. It's trial and error. Then the question might come up, is anybody interested in what I'm doing? Does it matter? It interests me. That should be enough, right? Then there's the age thing, because it seems like the older you get, the more careful you think you have to be. So I think what my point is that when it comes to being creative and putting forth your most authentic self, sometimes it's good to look back and remember that spark, that initial spark that sent you down this path in the first place. It's always good to remember your center and your first motivation. You stay in touch with you. Once again, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. In the coming months, I'll be launching my Patreon page, which I hope you'll check out and consider joining. I'll be posting some samples and demos of music I'm working on and talking about my ideas about music in general, and there will probably be an arranging tutorial section as well. God bless. Bright moments. Yeah. Baby. Yeah. Turn them off.